This is a webcast recording for modern European history. The purpose of this recording is to discuss the essay paper requirements. Here you have the first page of a packet that outlines the essay assignment. You should have a hard copy of this assignment. If you happen to be missing this packet, then you can download another copy off of Canvas. So in a previous webcast, we discussed the prompt and the use of the theme that you're going to select. Also discussed the approved resource list, including your textbook. So we'll drop down to the next page. The next page should be familiar. It's a document that you've been given for the previous unit essay assignments this semester, and it just captures what a proper introduction, thesis, body paragraphs using historical details of evidence, and then your big idea analysis, your conclusion should look like. An additional item here for this assignment is the formatting, the mechanics, and the use of Chicago style. This is what I want to explain most here in this webcast to give you an idea of what is required. This next page is the same information as above, but it has the grading spectrum. So this is the scoring rubric that I will use to evaluate your paper. The next page takes us to the Chicago style checklist. And this will list everything that you need to utilize in formatting your paper properly. So you'll see here the first item is Times New Roman font. Every single thing you type on your essay document has to be in a Times New Roman font. Everything has to be 12 point. In the essay, the introduction, the body paragraphs, and the conclusion must be double spaced. The next item listed here is the title page. The title page works differently in Chicago than a MLA requirement, which is using a formal heading in the top left-hand corner of your paper. There will be another separate webcast recording that will explain how to put together a title page. You'll also have a header. There's some unique differences with the Chicago header. Again, there will be another webcast recording discussing the header. You have to have margins of 1 inch on all sides. So the top, bottom, and side margins are 1 inch. One thing I just kind of want to show you, if we were to open up a Word document and go to page layout, you're going to see up in the top left a margin tab. Select that, and you can see that the 1 inch margins all the way around the paper is usually the default setting. So you would select that and you would have proper margins. I want to address this issue over here, spacing, 10 point. Microsoft Word defaults to this, and you'll need to zero this out so that the spacing of your paper is proper. This little diagram here, you can click, and then it will allow you to select your spacing, double space. There may be portions, or there definitely will be portions of your essay document that will have some single spacing components. So this is how you'll be able to change the spacing of your document. And what I suggest is that you set that all up and title your document French Revolution, Arab Spring document, whatever you're using as your title, and save it. Kind of set that up first before you start typing anything. You have a word count requirement in this essay, so you can't have less than 850, and you can't have more than 1,175 words. So there's a fairly substantial gap there that you get to play with. The word count includes everything that you type, which starts with your title page, goes through the body of your essay, your introduction, your body paragraphs, your conclusion, and then also includes the text that you type for your notes page and your bibliography page. So because you have some additional words that will be counted, we give you quite a large range, but make sure you're not less than 850 and make sure you're not more than 1,175. And that word count is calculated by the turnitin.com evaluation when you submit your assignment through Canvas. In-text citations is an important thing that you figure out. There will be a separate webcast recording focusing on this issue. But this is a very different system than MLA. Your facts, evidence that you put in your paper are identified with subscript numbers. Those subscript numbers are then clarified on the notes page. I will be discussing the notes page and the subscript numbers. So I just want you to be familiar right now that this subscript number is how you identify the facts and evidence that you pull from your approved resources. And there's also a bibliography page, which is a list of all your resources that you have read while researching for this paper. The notes page and the bibliography page are two separate pages. The bibliography page is the last page of your paper. As regards to the resources, you must use 4 resources at a minimum. The textbook has to be one because that's the source you'll be citing for all the French Revolution historical data and evidence. And then you get to pick 3 others of a minimum that discuss the Egyptian Arab Spring story. And of course, all of those resources are are listed in the first page here from the approved list. If you use more than 4 resources, that's fine. The next page in the packet just gives you some samples so you can have some visualizations of what the title page or the cover page looks like. You have some sample of your in-text content citations. Here you have a number 1 subscript. Here you have a number 2 subscript. Notice the difference here. This number 1 subscript is identifying the facts in this sentence. The facts are including numbers, including people. Anything you pull from a resource that you use in your essay that is not your own wording, your own information, has to be identified by a subscript number, which then will connect to the notes page, and you can tell me where that resource, where you got that information, where the facts came from. So this is your own words, paraphrasing, utilizing facts that you pulled from your research document. A different fact would be a direct quote. The direct quote, you have to tell me where you got that. You finish the direct quote with a subscript. The subscript number 2 is related to the second source listed on the notes page. So every factual piece of information has to be cited with a subscript number. We have a bibliography page, which is a list of all of the sources that you read. You might not have used all of those sources listed in the bibliography, but you read them. And so those have to be set up with proper citations. There's going to be a separate webcast recording that will discuss the bibliography. I want to go back up and discuss this term IBID. IBID is a term that's used for Chicago style that means the same as above. So here, this number 3, and I don't have a number 3 content subscript example, but in a sentence following number 2, there will be some information that would then be identified with subscript number 3. You would then have to tell me where you got that information. If that information happened to come from the same source as number 2, you just write IBID, the same as above. On this, you have IBID, period, because it's an abbreviation. Then you have a comma, space, and then a number. That's because this came from a book, and this historical information, the details, the evidence came off of page 183. If your resource is not a book, if it's an online resource, such as the ones that I've given to you for the Arab Spring, then you would just write IBID, period. There would be no page number. So there would be no need for a number or a comma. If the next source listed is different than the one above, then you have to spell it out with the specific citation references. The other terminology that you need to consider is et al. So this resource actually has multiple authors. And Chicago allows for you to only list the author that is listed first on the resource. Though where this becomes applicable is your textbook. Your textbook has 5 listed authors. You would only use the name of the first author, and then all of the others are included with et al.